Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm going to be bringing you guys my first 2021 NFL mock draft post the Super Bowl and post the Carson Wentz trade to the Indianapolis Colts, which will have an effect on this video. If you guys do end up enjoying this NFL mock draft and want more NFL content from me, I post fantasy football videos, NFL draft videos, as well as just regular NFL videos. So if you enjoy football, you're a football fan, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I post this content every single day. And while you're down there, if you guys want some instant breaking news, I typically post the second something happens. So right when Carson Wentz got traded to the Colts, I posted a video, I discuss it, and then the next day, I fully broke it down. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell if you guys want instant NFL news. So we are going to get into this mock draft now. At the number 1 overall spot, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the board. And unless of a complete and utter mental error, the Jaguars will select Trevor Lawrence here. There is narrative going around Twitter, going around that NFL scouts are seeing that Zach Wilson is better than Trevor Lawrence. I don't believe that in one bit. That's true. What I think this is the Jets laying a decoy out there and saying that Zach Wilson is better than Trevor Lawrence or something, so this goes up in the news, and maybe somehow the Jaguars mess this up and don't draft the guy who won the national championship in his freshman year. The guy that threw for over 3,000 yards the past 3 seasons, even with only playing 10 games this season. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. The guy throws a lot of touchdowns, a very high passer effective rating, over 157 every single year, as well as rushing upside in 2019. His best rushing season, 563 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. This guy is the wet dream for football analysis, for analysts, I should say, for football fans. This guy calls himself Touchdown Jesus. This guy's fucking amazing. You take Trevor Lawrence at the first pick, and you don't look back. To me, this is a no-brainer for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I would be shocked, genuinely shocked, if he was not the number 1 overall pick, so we're not going to go too deep into that. At number 2, the Jets have the opportunity to either do 2 things. Either, in my head, they're drafting Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, one of those 2 quarterbacks, or they draft Penei Sewell. Personally, I'm a Dolphins fan. I'd like to see the Jets draft Justin Fields because I don't think Justin Fields is going to be as great instantly as I think Zach Wilson will be. And I also think drafting Penei Sewell would be very smart because then you can protect Sam Darnold and give him 1 more year of a guess. But personally, I think the Jets are going to go ahead and get their new quarterback in Zach Wilson. I think they're just done with mono man Sam Darnold. 2020 was by far and away Zach Wilson's best season at BYU, elevating his draft capital straight to the moon like Bitcoin. 247 of 336 passing for 3,692 passing yards with 33 touchdowns to just 3 INTs. He also can use his legs, rushing for 10 touchdowns in 2020 on 70 rushes for 254 yards. I talked about it before. People are saying that the scouts are more on top of Zach Wilson, loving this guy. I don't believe it. I think he's a great quarterback. I just do not think he's as good as Trevor Lawrence. Does that mean he can't be? No. He could easily be better than Trevor Lawrence because they're both so good. And I personally think Zach Wilson is the second best quarterback in the draft. I think this is the way that the New York Football Jets will lean in this draft. At number 3, my Miami Dolphins. I got a Dolphins shirt on, got a Dolphins hat on, got Dan Marino behind me. My Miami Dolphins, I want us to select Penei Sewell. He is a generational tackle. He is going to protect Tua for years to come, but that's not what the Dolphins are going to do. The Dolphins are going to get sexy. Let's get sexy. Bump, 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 bump. And they're going to go with Jamar Chase, wide receiver of the LSU Tigers. He opted out in 2020, obviously, so there's no stats for that, but it doesn't seem to fucking matter because in the last 2 seasons, the 2019 and 2020 season, reminder, did not play in 2020, had the most touchdowns, over 20-plus yards, with 14. Again, mind you, he did the best in the past 2 years, and he did not even play last season in that category, which is just amazing. He owns the single-season SEC record for receiving yards and touchdowns in 2019, and he did this with Justin Jefferson on the LSU team. Justin Jefferson, I mind you, Vikings god. He's setting records for the Vikings, okay? And he was behind this guy, Jamar Chase. So I love Jamar Chase here for the Dolphins. Personally, I think DeVonta Smith's a little bit better, but it's like nitpicking. They're both very good. 1A, 1B to me. I love Ja'Marr Chase, and the Dolphins get a weapon for Tua so that Tua isn't throwing the ball to guys and it's just bouncing off of their hands, which is what we saw a lot in 2020. At number 4, the Atlanta Falcons are up here. To me, they're not going to go with any other position besides quarterback. They are going to go ahead and get rid of Matty Ice after this season. 2022, we will see this guy make his debut likely unless Matt Ryan gets hurt. Justin Fields, quarterback of the Ohio State. After a short stint in Georgia, this man took his talent like LeBron to Ohio State, even though it was kind of the reverse there. Shout out to LeBron, even though I don't like him. That's nothing against LeBron. It's just I think the guy just flops too much. Throwing for 3,273 passing yards and 41 touchdowns to just 3 INTs in 2019, Justin Fields got off to a strong start in 2019, his first year at Ohio State. In 2020, he played even better, taking their team to the national championship where they ultimately get bent over a table by Nick Saban and friends in Alabama. He threw for 2,100 yards in just 8 games for 22 touchdowns and just 6 INTs. Just like the other 2 quarterbacks we've talking about, he's the third quarterback. This guy can use his legs as well, rushing for 10 touchdowns in 2019 and 5 in 2020. To me, Justin Fields is the most athletic out of this group, so I think he will use his legs the most at the NFL level out of those top 3 quarterbacks. But I do have issues with Justin Fields. I think that the guy looks too much at his first read. Does not make his progressions as well as the first 2 quarterbacks we discussed. That's why he's going here at number 4 to the Atlanta Falcons. At number 5, the Bengals are up here, and this is a slam dunk pick. Now, in my head, they might go Jaylen Waddle. They could go DeVonta Smith, but if I'm the Bengals, I just saw Joe Burrow get his back blown out, metaphorically, because he tore his ACL this season. You need to protect him. You need to give him the Trojans, and you draft him. Penei Sewell, offensive tackle out of Oregon. This guy is looked at as a generational talent at the position. He's looked at as a franchise tackle, and when you can get that in the draft, typically you select it here, and Penei Sewell, who opted out in 2020, will be my pick here for the Cincinnati Bengals. Next up at number 6, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who just recently traded away their guy, Carson Wentz, Super Bowl winner, even though 9-inch Nick Foles is the reason they won the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz probably could have won it as well, though. Now, he's gone. He's an Indy. The Eagles were like, fuck it, and get the hell out of here. The Wentz wanted out, so it makes sense. So the Eagles here, will they stick with Jalen Hurts, or do they draft a quarterback at this spot? To me, it's 50-50. I have no idea, and I don't think anyone has any idea what the Eagles are thinking quarterback-wise. Do they draft Trey Lance here, or do they stick with Mr. Jalen Hurts, who was very productive in 2020 when given the chance? But they brought in new coaching. It's no longer Doug Peterson. It's a new coach. So does the new coach want to draft his guy? To me, that's what I think ends up happening, at least for this scenario. There's definitely a scenario where they keep Jalen Hurts and they draft Kyle Pitts here, or they draft Jaylen Waddle, or they draft DeVonta Smith and walk off very happy at this spot. But for the scenario in this draft, we are going to be selecting Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. Interesting enough, that's where Carson Wentz played in college. Let me know down below what you guys think about this pick. Do you think the Eagles are going to go with a quarterback, or do you think they stick with Jalen Hurts? Trey Lance also opted out in 2020 and 2019. Lance played in 16 games, threw for over 2,700 passing yards on just 287 attempts. He had 28 touchdowns and a grand total of 0. 0, 0, 0 INTs. He also rushed for over 1,000 yards, 1,100 rushing yards, and 14 rushing touchdowns. This guy must be like fucking Kyler Murray on crack over there in North Dakota State. But again, the numbers are amazing, but he did this up against non-NCAA talent. He's playing in the FBS. He's playing in a different division than these motherfuckers. So, I'll give him credit where it's due, but I'm not too sure if he will translate to the NFL level. But maybe the Eagles are looking this way at pick number 6. At number 7, we see the Detroit Lions up on the clock, and I think that Kenny Golladay is going to be gone. Personally, I feel like Marvin Jones is definitely gone. They need wide receivers. They just brought in Jared Goff. They're going to go with a wide receiver here. In my opinion, they could go defense. They do need a defense as well. But I think they go with wide receiver DeVonta Smith, 2020 Heisman. He had 1,856 receiving yards in 2020 with 23 touchdowns and 117 catches. That's enough said. The fact that he won the Heisman doesn't necessarily mean that's why he gets drafted so high. It's because he was so good that he won the Heisman. You know, you can't just fucking win the Heisman. You have to play really good, and he played outstanding in 2020, and I expect him to play very well at the NFL level as well. Slim Reaper, DeVonta Smith may look like he has the body of a 7th grade boy, but it does not matter. DeVonta Smith is a fucking beast, and that's a joke. He's just very, very skinny and needs to eat a little bit more, but, you know, still more athletic than me and would beat the ever-living shit out of me if we got into a fight. You want to know who else is going to get in a fight? Me and you. If you don't hit that subscribe button down below, I'm only kidding, but if you did end up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate it a ton, and I hit it at the exact 10-minute mark, so shout out to my brain for recognizing that. Now at number 8, we have the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, who seem like they are potentially going to win the Deshaun Watson lottery. The Watson Express. The Watson Championship, whatever you want to call it. Seems like they may be able to trade CMC, 2 first-rounders, maybe even more, to acquire quarterback Deshaun Watson. Hasn't happened yet. What will they do here? There's 2 options. They either go defense here, or they select quarterback Mac Jones. Okay? 2 scenarios here. In this scenario, we are going to go with them going with a cornerback, getting Patrick Surtain, corner out of Alabama, ranked 3rd of corners in 2020 according to PFF in coverage grade, ranked 14th of corners in 2020 in PFF's run defense grade, best defensive grade via PFF overall as a player. Surtain seems like a defense changer. This guy, they're building a very young defense in Carolina, and I would really like to add Surtain to this defense. To me, this is going to be one of the most under-the-microscope picks when it comes to the NFL draft. A lot of people are going to be looking here. What do the Panthers do? Because a lot of people are in the Mac Jones to the Panthers train. Obviously, we'll have a much better idea in April because likely Deshaun Watson will have been traded to either the Panthers or maybe he gets traded to the next team we are about to touch on here. The Carolina Panthers, we just talked about. Next, we are going up to the Denver Broncos at pick number 9. The Denver Broncos here, I don't think they pick a quarterback. I think they seem pretty confident in keeping Drew Lock for 1 more year if they don't get Deshaun Watson. So here, they're going to be selecting Kwity Paye, edge rusher out of Michigan. Now, universally, this guy is looked at as the best edge rusher in the draft, but when you're looking at his stats, that's not going to tell you that. He's not going to fly out of the page and be like, oh my God, the Broncos need to draft this guy. That's not what you're going to see when you read the stats. But he played on Michigan. Michigan is an absolute fucking dumpster fire of a university. But I will be selecting Mr. Kwity Paye here for the Broncos. The Broncos need to build back that defense, to have that defense like they had when Mr. Cranium Head Painted Manning was the quarterback there when the defense carried him. Von Miller likely he says he's giving the deuces like Tyreek Hill. He's leaving. Unlike Jordan Belfort, who's not fucking leaving, but Kwity Paye joining the Denver Broncos. And number 10, the Dallas Cowboys. They need a defense. How about them boys? This offense is amazing. It is going to butt-fuck defenses, the offenses, when Dak is healthy. That's what we saw. But you don't want your offense having to score 37, 38, 42 points to win a game. You don't want that. You don't want the defense getting absolutely bent over a table every single game, and Dak having to carry them to the promised land. To me, if they do not go with corner here, I would be shocked. I really would be. Caleb Farley is available, looked at as the 1B behind Mr. Patrick Surtain, and to me, this is a no-brainer pick. This guy does kind of struggle in the tackling department, but overall, he's a pretty much locked-down corner, so I do like Caleb Farley a lot, and if the Cowboys don't pick him, genuinely, I would be very shocked. And if he wasn't there, they'd probably have picked Patrick Surtain, who would have been there, because they could definitely go flip-flop in this draft, and the Panthers or someone else could go with Farley over Surtain, and it would not really surprise me at all. At number 11, the New York Football Giants, 2 NFC East teams back-to-back, Michael Jordan, 96-97. Woo! At 11, we could see the Giants go 2 ways in my eyes. Either they're going Kyle Pitts, or they are going to go with Jaylen Waddle. To me, no doubt in my mind, those are the picks. They need to go ahead and solidify Daniel Dimes. Is he good or is he bad? They've been giving so many excuses. Oh, the wide receivers are bad. I mean, Evan Ingram sucks ass at playing tight end. The guy has butter all over his fingers. The guy literally has no idea how to catch the ball, it seems like. So they're going to either bring in Kyle Pitts or they are going to go ahead and bring in Jaylen Waddle. The 2 top guys on the board here. In my mind, that is where they go. But I think they go with Jaylen Waddle here. I think they stick with Evan Ingram, who has no hands. Jaylen Waddle did end up getting hurt in 2020 and only played in 6 games, though he did end up returning for the national championship in that reckoning of the Ohio State University. But since he came back and since there's really no concern of future injury or that he's still hurt, it shouldn't affect his draft kind of capital at all. His stats aren't that amazing, but what you have to understand about these Alabama guys, they were playing with legitimate beasts. Jerry Jeudy's there. In the past, they had Calvin Ridley there. They're playing with all these fucking amazing talents, so it's hard for them to get seen a lot. Jaylen Waddle averaged 18.8, 17.0, and 21.2 yards per receptions in his 3 years at Alabama. The guy is very fast, Lightning McQueen style, so I like Jaylen Waddle here to the New York Football Giants. At number 12, the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock, and here, it seems like Richard Sherman, he's leaving. He's getting the fuck out of there, and there is one corner left that you could argue may be as good as Surtain or maybe as good as Caleb Farley, and that's Jaycee Horn. It doesn't seem like he's ever going to get to that level where people are talking about him as good as Caleb Farley or as good as Patrick Surtain, but I do think he's clearly the cornerback 3 in this draft out of South Carolina. Go Cox. And I do think it is very, very possible that the San Francisco 49ers, whose defense crumbled like a cookie last season, drafts one here at number 12, cornerback Jaycee Horn out of the Cox, South Carolina. At 13, the Chargers, their wet dream pick, Hunter Henry. That guy's out of there. Now, maybe he comes back, but it seems like he's going to be out of there. He wants the money. He wants the bag. The Chargers are not going to give him that. They could go with an offensive tackle here. Slater, very good. Still available. Potential top 10 pick, Slater. But I think they go with Kyle Pitts. I think they give Justin Herbert, the pervert, another weapon. Kyle Pitts is just fucking goated. This guy's 6'6", 246 pounds. Plays tight end like a wide receiver. 2019, 54 receptions, 649 yards, 5 touchdowns in 13 games. In 2020, this guy plays in just 8 games. Has a truly breakout season. 43 receptions in just 8 games for 770 yards and 12 touchdowns. This guy's a fucking beast. It's a no-brainer for the Chargers, obviously, unless they go offensive tackle. At number 14, Rashawn Slater does get selected to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, in my eyes, need to build up that O-line to protect not so hot Kirk Cousins, game manager Kirk Cousins. Dalvin Cook wants to run amok, and Rashawn Slater is going to lock it up for the boys. So I do like Rashawn Slater a lot here for the Minnesota Vikings. To me, this is a very simple pick. At 15, the New England Deflatriots are up on the clock, and here, there's no way they go wide receiver. Even though people want it, there's no tight end available here to top the team needs, at least according to the Draft Network. They're going to go with defense. They're going with Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. He also opted out in 2020. There is some noise that, he did some type of hazing shit to the team like a frat boy. Who cares? The NFL teams don't seem to care. This guy's a tackling machine with 109 tackles in 2019 and 82 in 2018. Also improved his pass rushing in 2020, going from 1.5 sacks in 2019 to in 2018, I should say, to 2019, because again, he did opt out in 2020. I kind of just wrote it down wrong, so I will reread it again. I apologize. Tackling machine in 2019, having 109 tackles, 2018 having 82, and he improved his pass rushing from 2018 to 2019, having 1.5 sacks, 1.5 sacks in 2018, and 5 sacks in 2019, so a much better improvement. Again, I apologize for mixing the numbers around here. I do like Micah Parsons a lot. Seems like a potential top 10 pick, and the Patriots will be very happy to select him here at number 15. It seems like Stephon Gilmore may end up leaving, so they may be a little bit sad that they weren't able to get Jaycee Horn at this pick. At number 16, the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock here, and I think they continue to build up a very strong defense here and go with Notre Dame linebacker Jeremiah Owusu Koramoah. This guy's name is very hard to pronounce. But you know what else is hard? This motherfucker's tackling and the cocks of Arizona Cardinals fans when they draft him. Just like Parsons, this guy is a machine. He was dominant when the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, when they were in independent school, and he was dominant when they were in the ACC, and that proves a lot to me because going to the ACC is a lot better competition. So I like JOK here going to the Arizona Cardinals. At number 17, the Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry if I blew out your eardrums. Select Gregory Rousseau, who, you guessed it, also opted out in 2020, edge rusher out of Miami. Miami. Shout out to the U. He led the ACC in sacks in 2019, only was behind Chase Young in the whole NCAA as number 2 in sacks total, which is very good. Chase Young lit it up in the NFL. He had 2-game stretch that season where he slapped up Pittsburgh and Florida with a combined 7 total sacks in those games. Obviously missing 2020 may have ended up hurting his draft stock, but he still seems like an excellent edge rusher here out of Miami. And I think the Raiders go defense at that pick at number 18, the Miami Dolphins. My Dolphins are back on the board, and this is my dream pick that we go with Najee Harris. Now, actually, realistic Nick kind of wants us to just take Christian Darrisaw. I think that's the next best tackle, and I think that's what we should do. But I also think they might want to go flashy. They might want to go ahead and solidify Tua with a bunch of weapons. Najee Harris is a very good kind of receiving back as well as rushing back, kind of a double-edged sword of a running back, dual threat, as they might say, out of Alabama, pairs Tua with his old teammates. I like this move a lot for the Miami Dolphins, and I hope this is what we end up doing. My running back 1 in the class rushed for over 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons, back-to-back Michael Jordan, 96, 97. Woo! Very important and very pretentious. As well as over 1,500 rushing, or 1,500 scrimmage yards in those 2 seasons. This guy's a dual threat running back, would fit well in the Dolphins system, but as a Dolphins fan, I know we'd probably be fine using just Salvon Ahmed as well as Myles Gaskin as a 1-2 punch. Shout out Floyd Mayweather. So Christian Darrisaw could be the pick as well, but we're going to go with Najee Harris at this pick. I think a lot of people are thinking the Dolphins can get Najee Harris in the second round, but I personally think a team a little bit later that I have projected to take a running back will end up taking Najee Harris ahead of who they are going to end up picking, obviously, because Najee Harris is gone in this mock draft. So here, Christian Darrisaw is going to go to the Washington football team. They do kind of need a quarterback, so they could pick Mac Jones, but they also just signed Heineke to a 2-year deal for only $8 million, which could be a backup, obviously, but I think they will roll with him one more time, and I think they will miss out on Mac Jones at this pick. Obviously, the only picks here to me are Darrisaw or would be Mac Jones. We're going to go with Darrisaw for this mock draft. Again, very simple. Protect the fucking quarterback. When you pick a offensive tackle and interior offensive lineman in the first round, if they're any good, you're going to get a good grade for the pick. People are going to think you were smart because tackles are very important. They're not sexy at all. When the Washington football team, if they select Christian Darrisaw, the fans are not going to go fucking electric. They're not going to jump through a table like they're Buffalo Bills fans, but in reality, they'll be happy next year when Heineke is not getting laid out on his ass, at least from the side that Christian Darrisaw will be protecting. At number 20, the Chicago Bears are up. They also could be going for Mac Jones here. They may end up with Deshaun Watson. They're also another team rumored to get Mr. Watson. But ultimately, if that doesn't end up happening, I think they stick with the king of kissing titties in Mitchell Trubisky, and they draft a wide receiver because it seems like Allen Robinson's half of his foot is out the door. It seems like they're going to franchise tag Mr. Allen Robinson and then end up trading him away. Toney seems very highly regarded by NFL scouts. I'm a fantasy guy, and not too many guys in the fantasy industry are high on him, but the NFL are, and that matters more, obviously, when you're trying to figure out where they're going to get drafted in the NFL draft. So I think he would be the next best wide receiver to be selected to the Chicago Bears. Toney, again, very highly regarded by the scouts. Didn't do all that much in his first 3 years at Florida, but in 2020, the guy had a breakout season in 11 games, had 70 receptions for 984 yards and 10 receiving touchdowns. The guy does seem very good. Seems like the Chicago Bears need some more wide receivers. And while he's not ranked very high on here, he's ranked 31, and we are currently at pick 20. I still think he is a perfectly fine fit for the Chi-Town Bears with Kissin' Titties Mitchell Trubisky. At number 21, the Indianapolis Colts recently acquired Carson Wentz, so they're not going to be drafting a quarterback in this draft, at least in the first round. And in my mock draft, they're going to go ahead and select Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. The Colts defense was very strong in 2021. They are going to be losing some players likely to free agency, I believe, at least from my brain. This guy's a very good player all over the field, Zaven Collins. He's very good at wrapping up tackles. He is great in coverage with 4 picks in 2020 as well as 2 touchdowns. And to me, based off what I've seen out of this Tulsa linebacker, he seems very underrated. As to where I'm not even sure he'll get picked here because I'm not reading too much about him being amazing when, based on what I've watched, he looks very, very good. Zaven Collins out of Tulsa goes to the Indianapolis Colts at pick number, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. The Tennessee Titans, the Lea Titans here, are going to be selecting Joseph Ossai, Texas edge rusher. I like the Texans to add anything on defense. If they picked any position on defense, I would be very happy if I'm a Titans fan. Why? Because this defense was getting its shit clapped in. Ossai seems to be very quick off the snap to rush the quarterback. He also has very, very long arms. Maybe has a very big penis, but I mean, that has nothing to do with assessing a guy unless you're talking about Nick Foles. He seems like a very standout player on the field, at least when watching him. So I think Titans fans should be very happy with Joseph Ossai, edge rusher out of Texas. I should have said pause after talking about his large hog, but I didn't, so I apologize for that. Joseph Ossai goes to the Lea Titans at 23. After getting Zach Wilson, the New York Football Jets are back on the board here, and I think the Jets really could go wide receiver, but I think what the Jets may have done was packaged Chris Olave, Ohio State, who didn't even come out to the draft, with Justin Fields. That was the initial thought. Now they're going with Wilson. I don't think they go wide receiver here, and I think they end up going Jaelan Phillips, edge rusher out of Miami. With Mr. Rousseau gone in 2020, this really opened the door up for Jaelan Phillips in the U for Miami. He had 8 sacks in 2020, 13th in the nation, 15.5 tackles, 6th in the nation, and 45 tackles with a pick in 2020. It seems like Jaelan Phillips is not a guy heavily talked about, but I do really like him here, and I think the Jets need to build more on that defense. That was not playing all that hot in 2020, obviously, since they got rid of Jamal Adams, their leader, and sent him to Seattle, and this is a pick they got from sending him to Seattle at pick number 24. The Pittsburgh Steelers are up, and while they could obviously go with Samuel Cosmi out of Texas, I like the Steelers to go with a running back. The Steelers are a very good run team based upon the coaching by Mike Tomlin. While the offensive line is not as good in the past, when Le'Veon Bell was standing there like a statue, waiting for Moses himself to spread the seas and open up a hole, and then he would just run straight through it. Obviously, he's gone now. No clue where he's going to play in 2021, Le'Veon Bell. But who could be there is Travis Etienne, the running back I was kind of, winking about earlier that I was kind of talking about. Mr. Travis Etienne, Clemson running back, is a dual threat running back, just like with Najee Harris, who we talked about earlier. 2018 to 2019, this guy put up over 1,600 yards. This guy had 24 rushing touchdowns in 2018, 19 rushing touchdowns in 2019. 2020 was a down year due to playing less games with only 12 touchdowns, but with just 12 games, I should say. He did have 14 touchdowns and over 900 yards, and he went over 2,000 scrimmage yards in 2019, which is very good. This is a very good pick for the Steelers, as I think they are going to run away from Mr. Glassman, James Conner. At number 25, the Jacksonville Jaguars are up on the board, and I do think they pick Samuel Cosmi here out of Texas. I do think they could also continue to build a very young defense here, or even go with Pat Fairmouth, tight end, but I do think they end up going tackle here, at least based on this mock. He is not ranked super high. Based on what I've been looking at, he is ranked very high on the Draft Network, but based upon other rankings I've been looking at, based upon watching him, he doesn't seem like the 13th best guy, at least in my eyes, but you never fucking know with the NFL. He does look pretty good. He doesn't look amazing, but he's a first-round pick, and I'll happily pick him here for the Jaguars to protect the future. In Trevor Lawrence at number 26, the Browns are up, and this is kind of a wet dream pick, going with Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher out of Georgia, to pair with Carol Gaskin, which is Myles Gaskin, Dolphins running back. I was talking about Myles Garrett for the Cleveland Browns. Imagine Azeez Ojulari and Myles Garrett coming to beat the shit out of you with their helmet. That would be quite scary if you ask me. He's looked at as a very safe first-round pick. 9.5 sacks in 2020, ranking first in the SEC. 13 tackles for loss, ranking second in the SEC. And 4 forced fumbles, ranking first in the SEC. This seems like a very safe pick for the Cleveland Browns, whose defense they really underperformed based upon my perception of how good they would be, but that was kind of due to injury. A lot of players getting hurt on that defense. At 27, the Ravens are up. And if I'm the Ravens, none of these edge rushers are available that you probably wanted. You may have wanted Ossai, not here. Phillips, not here. Rousseau, not here. You're going to go with a wide receiver, and you're going to go with the best wide receiver available in my eyes is Rashod Bateman. Only played 5 games in 2020. Really lit it up in 2019, though, in 13 games, having 60 receptions for 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. The Baltimore Ravens need a wide receiver. Hollywood Brown and these rejects around him are not doing enough for Lamar Jackson. They're dropping all types of passes, and if we want to see Lamar really take the next step up when it comes to his passing, we need them to draft a wide receiver, and that's what they do in my mock draft. At 28, Mr. Mac Jones is still available, and he is going to fall to the New Orleans Saints. Personally, as a Jameis Winston, eat a W fan, I love famous Jameis, and I would rather them stay with him in 2020. Or 2021, I should say. But I don't know if they do. It doesn't seem like they're sold on Jameis, so I'll go with Mac Jones, Heisman contender in 2020, threw for 4,500 yards in 2020, 41 touchdowns to just 4 INTs, took over for Tua when Tua got hurt. People are comparing him, saying he's better than Tua now, which just fucking blasphemy. But, you know, it is what it is. Mac Jones, definitely very good, though, to snag at the end of the first round. Now up at 29, we got the Green Bay Packers, the Cheeseheads here, and while people might be clamoring for a wide receiver here, let me list off some wide receivers that are still available. Terrace Marshall, Rondell Moore, Atwell, Nico Collins, Ramon St. Brown, Elijah Moore, Amari Rodgers, just some names at the position that people might want. There's no fucking way the Packers do that. They never will wow the fans by doing something like that, and they're just going to end up drafting a tackle in Mr. Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. It just makes sense. They never do what the fans want, and this is exactly what the fans wouldn't want, but hey, they're going to be losing a bunch of players to free agency potentially on the offensive line, so they're going to need someone to step in like Jalen Mayfield. At number 30, the Buffalo Bills, no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills here, are going to make a smart pick here and go with, drum roll please, Nick Bolton out of Missouri, linebacker. Nick Bolton had 2 great years in a row with over 95 tackles in his last 2 seasons at Missouri, ranked first in solo tackles in the SEC and 9th in assisted tackles in the SEC in 2020. The Buffalo Bills need to add to their linebacker core. It's the number 1 need on the website, and I really do believe they actually need that. At 31, wet dream scenario for the Kansas City Chiefs. Elijah Vera-Tucker falls to them. You have to fucking protect Pat Mahomes. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes was getting his back blown out like his name was Riley Reid in the Super Bowl. So let's hope that this happens for Patrick Mahomes' sake, because I like Patrick Mahomes, even as a Dolphins fan, even though the Chiefs whooped our ass this season. At number 32, the Bucs are up, and here I think they go with Jayson Oweh, edge rusher out of Penn State. He's a solid player who adds more to a very strong Bucs defense. The Bucs may end up losing a few pieces to free agents, so it seems very good to bring in Oweh, who had 20 solo tackles in 7 games in 2020, as well as having 6.5 tackles for a loss. I'm not saying this is necessarily a locked-in pick, because Oweh is ranked much lower on here, but I do think he'll end up being a first-round pick in the NFL draft to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So to wrap up our wonderful mock draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Trevor Lawrence, followed by the Jets selecting Zach Wilson. Miami at 3 selects Jamar Chase at 4. The Falcons select Justin Fields at 5. The Bengals get Penei Sewell, offensive tackle out of Oregon, at 6. The Philadelphia Eagles go with Trey Lance over starting Jalen Hurts at 7. The Lions select DeVonta Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama, at 8. The Panthers select Patrick Surtain, corner out of Alabama, at 9. The Denver Broncos select Kwity Paye, edge rusher, at 10. The Dallas Cowboys select Caleb Farley at 11. The New York Football Giants select Jaylen Waddle at 12. The 49ers go with Jaycee Horn at 13. Kyle Pitts out of Florida goes to the Chargers at 14. The Minnesota Vikings select offensive tackle Rashawn Slater at 15. The New England Patriots select Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons at 16. The Arizona Cardinals select Jeremiah Owusu, linebacker out of Notre Dame, at 17. The Las Vegas Raiders select Gregory Rousseau, edge rusher out of Miami, at 18. The Miami Dolphins select Najee Harris, running back, Alabama, at 18. The Washington football team select Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle, Virginia Tech, at 21. The Chicago Bears select Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, Florida, at 21. The Indianapolis Colts select Zaven Collins, linebacker, Tulsa, at 22. The Titans select Joseph Ossai, edge rusher, Texas, at 23. The Jets select Jaelan Phillips, edge rusher, Miami, at 24. The Steelers select Travis Etienne, running back, Clemson, at 25. The Jaguars select offensive tackle out of Texas, Samuel Cosmi, at 26. The Cleveland Browns select Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher, Georgia, at 27. The Baltimore Ravens select Rashod Bateman, wide receiver, Minnesota, at 28. The Saints select Alabama quarterback Mac Jones, at 29. The Packers select Michigan tackle Jalen Mayfield, at 30. The Buffalo Bills select Nick Bolton, get you ahead in the game. Linebacker out of Missouri at 31, the Kansas City Chiefs select Elijah Vera-Tucker, interior offensive lineman out of USC, and the final pick of the draft. Super Bowl champions Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jayson Oweh, edge rusher out of Penn State. Thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you ended up enjoying this mock draft and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button down below. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, good boy.